The Japanese have done a study, and they have proven that people who take an hour-long walk through the forest each day are by far happier and healthier than those people who do not. And I believe them. About 4 years ago, I was at the cottage and they were talking about the Ontario program. It's called the 50 Million Tree Program. And a forester by the name of Peter Gagnon from Sault Ste. Marie was enticed me already, and I thought, I have to find this man. And I believe the best use of the fields around here would be to plant trees.
Well, Wanda has an interesting history growing up in the Dryden area. When this program came available, living on this farm, decided that she should plant some of the areas that weren't being used for agriculture and bring it back to a forest condition. It was one of our first plants in Northern Ontario, so I went out, and that's where I got to meet Wanda and sort of find out about all her idiosyncrasies and her interests in forestry.
You have no idea how this is beautiful to my eyes. We planted in total just over 16,000 trees. I was telling someone this story and they said, "You mean 1,600? No, 16,000. I was recognized for planting all these trees, but I didn't plant trees for any kind of recognition. I planted trees because it was the best use of these fields that were going to weeds. What is better, to leave a field go to weeds, or to plant trees, and in a few years you have a magnificent little forest?
The 50 Million Tree Program is a United Nations program, actually called the 1 Billion Tree Program. And Ontario signed on to contribute 50 of the 1 billion trees that United Nations was trying to generate around the world.
Well, it's wonderful to think that way, that I planted an entire forest, but it seems to me that it is the natural thing to do is to plant trees, and if it accumulates to become a whole forest, well, that's great. It'll be a beautiful growth next year. This is 2018. Which is quite excellent for a very dry summer. This is 2017, a very wet summer, so that's a foot. This is 2016, which is only about 4 inches, and then 2015. So this is how high it was when it was planted. The roots must be established. Once they're established, then the little tree takes off. A tree is a living thing, and with all living things, branches break, they die, we replant, we nurture, make sure they're watered and fed properly. But some of these 16,000 trees, I'm just letting nature take its course. The weaker ones will die, that's fine. The stronger ones will pull through. I am not going to water them. All I do is to ensure that the weeds and the hay do not cover them and kill them that way. Now, it should be about this tall next year, close to my chin. And it's very, very sturdy now, so I don't have to worry about the weeds around it anymore. Would you rather live in a city with concrete, or would you rather go out in the bush and smell the wonderful air that the trees actually give off? What would you rather do? When I was a kid, a lot of this part around the house was pretty wild. And now I think all of these red pines, white pines, cedar trees, silver maples, they are making this place park-like. And that's what I love to do. I think I'm practically obsessed with trees. but I love it. I'm sure that 5 years from now, I'll be walking through this little pine forest and loving every minute of it. Some people leave other types of legacies, but I believe that trees will be my legacy.